Over 1 million teachers use iExcel in their classrooms every day for one reason. They love it. Why? iExcel is where the magic happens. With just one platform, teachers can personalize learning for every student. iExcel gives teachers all the tools they need to enhance and differentiate instruction without adding work to their plates. Plus, iExcel has decades of expertise and has proven to be effective. Studies on more than 70,000 schools across nearly 50 states show that those who use iExcel outperform others on state tests. Ready to bring the magic to your school? Visit iexcel.com/PM to learn more.
You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another Monday Matters with my co-host, Dr. Jen Schwanke. Jen, it's the middle of June when this one is coming out, and you and I have both been traveling. I think you've been in Deerfield, Illinois, and I've been in Dallas, Texas by this time. Full disclosure, we're recording this before any of that stuff happened. But this is when these recordings are going to drop. And this week, as we step into the middle of the month and people are wrapping up and some are completely done. Some will be listening to this on vacation. Others won't listen to it until later if you're listening to this now as an archived episode. I wanted to bring one of your Principal Problems newsletters to listeners today because you just have such a great analogy in a post called Learning from Asparagus. Why don't you take us there?
Right. Well, this post was not only fun to write, but it really got traction. A lot of people read this and thought it really resonated with them. So I actually was inspired to write this when I went to visit my folks, and they live, listeners know this, they live on a 100-acre farm about an hour and a half from where I live now. And there's an asparagus patch, and it's big. It's the I don't know, the size of a car, say, in width and length. And my dad planted it on the farm. He said it was the very first thing he did when they got there. And so I don't know what you all know about asparagus, but when you plant an asparagus patch, it keeps giving and keeps giving and keeps giving. We're in year 52 of this asparagus patch.
Wow.
And I remember when I was little, my dad came in one day. It was a beautiful spring day. And he came into the kitchen and said, "Wow, you can almost see that asparagus growing. It's coming up so fast." Well, I wanted to see that. So I went out and I sat down next to the asparagus patch. And I stared at one stalk and I just wanted to watch it. I was imagining like Jack and the Beanstalk, right? Where it just grows up. Well, I didn't see anything. So I gave up and I skipped off and did something else. But then I came back and the stalk had in fact grown after a few hours. So side note, asparagus grows, it can grow up to a foot a day. It really is phenomenal. It's magic. So it had grown, and that made me a little mad. So I sat down again and I stared, and sure enough, I didn't see a darn thing. So I thought, I was trying to figure this out. I'm young and I'm trying to understand growing and math and progress. And I went to bed. I got up in the morning and those daggone stalks had grown, 6, 7, 8 inches in the night. So I was really, really frustrated. But this is the thing. The growth happened, even though I didn't see it. And when I was staring at it, I didn't see it, but it still happened. And so to me, that is a perfect analogy for what happens with our students.
Oh my goodness, what a great place to start. The growth happens even when we don't immediately see it. So let's stop for a moment because a lot of listeners are wrapping up a school year here in the US and they're tired or they're refreshing themselves right now, but trying to look back at a school year and ask yourself those reflective questions, which is how did I meet the expectations that I set for myself or our team or our school, versus that other question we always ask, which is what were the gaps between what I expected or the targets I set and what we actually reached. It's easy to start beating yourself up on the gaps. It's easy to beat yourself up when you're staring really hard in the moment, looking for that thing that you want. And so, Jen, unpack this a little bit more. Why is this an important principle principals to hold on to?
Well, we all want to see progress. Me as a 7-year-old watching the asparagus, I really wanted to see it, and I wanted to measure it, and I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to, be the one who had seen it and be the victorious observer. And so as principals, we go into classrooms every day, and we want a miracle every time, even if we know it's not realistic, and even if we're not saying that. Boy, we love those miracles. We love the change. And as a field, I believe we have become obsessed with progress. We are testing and testing and testing, assessment after assessment, daily exit tickets, data tracking, spreadsheets. We want to catch growth, and we want to talk about it, and we want to be proud about it. But just like me sitting there staring at that asparagus patch, nothing is going to happen while we're staring. It's not one day between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. On that one day, everybody looks exactly the same, right? And we also know that nothing occurs linear. You can never say, well, at 8 years old, it should be this measure. At 12 years old, this measure. But we try. We still do. And we still say, at the end of 3rd grade, every kid should be reading at this level. And we beat ourselves up when it doesn't happen. But then when we look away, we go to bed, we sleep on it, we come back, we do see growth. And it's so easy to let that obsession with growth really force us into an inauthentic and inaccurate picture of our progress. And then we panic. And really, the ingredient that we're missing is that time and space. We have to keep remembering, just like asparagus did not care that I was staring at it, children too don't care or think to care about the progress that we think they should be making. They're just coming to school and trying to learn, right? And so we have to not be so obsessed with seeing the growth.
Wow, Jen. I've been thinking about this in the terms too of meaning versus measure, or meaningful outcomes versus measurable outcomes. I'm not saying the data doesn't matter. I'm not saying
Right.
that we should measure growth. But what I am trying to say is something that I was recently reflecting with a group of leaders that I had worked with all year long. And we were looking back at some of the themes that had just kind of popped up through our time together. And man, we had, how it is, a year, you cover a lot of ground in a year in leadership. But one of the things that came out of that conversation was kind of this theme that emerged, that leadership is ultimately about who we're becoming, not what we're accomplishing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also about who our students and teachers are becoming, not what they're accomplishing. And that's easy to say, but it's really sometimes hard to unpack that. But I just think this is an important reflection moment so I just want to say this to leaders. When you are involved in actions that are meaningful, caring about people, checking on folks that need checking on, being visible and present with those you're serving, making sure that you're taking time to cultivate understanding and learning and growth, staying committed to your own fitness and health and nutrition, checking on those who you love in and outside of school. Those are all meaningful actions that over time produce really good harvests for you. And so even as you're stepping into summer, Jen, I just love this analogy so much. I just want to encourage leaders to not get fixated on the immediate, but to just keep the long-term in view, because I
Right.
think that's an important perspective.
Well, and if we can continue that long-term view one more moment, my mom still goes out and she cuts that asparagus down at the stalk and she steams it and just puts this pat of butter and salt on top. I mean, it is phenomenal. It is so delicious. And when I went to write this post, I emailed my dad and I said, "Hey, did you plant this asparagus like the summer that we moved there?" I was 3 months old. And he wrote back, "First thing." It was literally the first thing he did.
Yeah.
And so that's also a metaphor for what we're doing. We do the work and we so often don't know how it will turn out, but it will be a beautiful thing. These children that we are walking through as they become what they're becoming, these teachers that are still becoming, we're always still becoming, right? The leadership that we're providing will contribute to the world in a beautiful way.
Oh my gosh. Well, Principal Matters listeners, we're going to wrap up the conversation today, and you'll notice over the summer, Jen and I will still be doing our Monday Matters. They'll probably be a little bit shorter since we know folks aren't listening quite as much over the summer. But thank you, Jen, for bringing that to us. And how can our listeners find your wonderful newsletter and stay connected with you?
Yep, they can subscribe to that newsletter at my website, jenschwanke.com.
And you can find all of today's resources and today's post and our past posts at williamdparker.com. So until next time, thanks for doing what matters, and we'll talk to you soon. Find free resources like this one at williamdparker.com. Subscribe for our free weekly newsletter, which contains bonus material, and also check out the links for Grow Academies, Masterminds, Executive Coaching, and Keynote presentations from my books, as well as from Principal Matters Associates. You can find out more under our speakers tab at williamdparker.com. Thank you for learning together, and thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.